Okay, where'd Tracy go? Okay, this is speaking. Does everyone remember that? Okay. Did anyone do their homework? It's so funny. The only place, you did your homework? The only place I saw hand raised were over here. And then look, did you do your homework?
Yes.
Did you do your homework?
I was more concentrated on the Bible.
That's good, because you know what? The speaking will come out of that. Did you do your homework, Taylor? Did you do your homework? Okay, good job. Taylor's going to time out. Just kidding. Okay, so you made it. I feel sorry for the people watching this tape. Fast forward this forward. Okay. Who knows what their message is going to be about in 10 words or less? Okay. No. But who knows what your message is going to be about? Just raise your hand really high so I can actually see them. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Okay. Who has it down in 10 words or less? What's pinky mean? That means stop smacking in our house.
That means I don't want to raise my hand anymore, but I'm still recognizing it.
Okay. If you see me doing this, stop smacking. It's a joyful way. Okay, who can say it in 10 words or less? Amy, Lori, Tracy. Really?
I have my hand up.
I'm going to get you the tickle bug. Okay, so we're going to start there. I want you to come up and share with us two things. If you know you can say it in 10 words or less, we'll just start with Trace and go all the way around. Then I want you to come up and share.
When you say it, what does that mean? Or I think Jesus used that word too.
It will not end in death.
It is finished. Now, I just want to point out something. I'm recording this for the Ustream. That's why I'm using this. But my husband does not know what a noun is. He never speaks in nouns. He only speaks in pronouns.
But he's relational.
So out of the blue, he just like, he got a new car. I'm like, really? Who's he? You know, pronouns are used to replace a noun in order to avoid repetition. So he always does that. So for him to point out a pronoun to me is a really strange flip. Okay, if you can come up here and share what your message is about in 10 words or less, I want you to tell me two things. Your 10-word message, 1. 2, what's your conclusion? Where are you going to take them at the end of the day? Okay? So what's your message about? What's the action step you want out of them at the end of the day is number 2. Number 1, what's your 10 words? Number 2, what is your action step? If you have it. If you don't, it's fine. Do number 1 or number 2.
Are you recording this too?
Yes.
Just for the record, she told me I could do number 1 or number 2. On stage.
Use your phone.
Okay, so I have recorded my 10-word message in terms of what I want the audience to do, what action I want them to take at the end, how I want them to feel and how I want them to respond. So the first one is that I want them to have a conclusion to say that I am compelled toward unending prayer in my city. So that's one of them. And then I have 2 messages. The other one's for my business, and that one is I need help managing at the enterprise-wide level.
Cool. Nobody knows what the second one was, but that was great.
Say manage at enterprise
Sean?
level.
Enterprise-wide level.
That's exactly right.
Prove it.
I would like to do a number 2 for you all. Is that a good hook?
That's a great hook.
So I'm not sure I understood this correctly. I was thinking just 10 words, random, not streamed together in any kind of way that made sense. So I'll just read my 10 words and the conclusion that will hopefully wrap it together in a way that makes more sense. And then I'll do the number 2. So I put down shepherd, protector, godly, leader, loving, sacrificial, fierce, gentle, powerful. Anybody know where I'm going? Okay. Just wondering if we had any prophets in the audience. So, I'm going to answer the question. Summarize the point you want your listener to leave with. Look at that's my sweetie. Isn't she beautiful? Now we can start with the number 2. So, I am called and anointed by God to live for God. I have trouble reading my writing since I didn't know I was going to have to do it out loud. As pastor for my family, and if I choose to not do it, then I'm giving, this is the wrong one, I'll just read more. So I'll just say it because it'll be easier than reading my writing. So I am called and anointed by God to lead my family as a shepherd who pastors my home, who leads by loving kindness, who fiercely fights for my family, not against my family. Someone who is going to pay the price so my family doesn't have to, who's going to stand in the gap in a society who's running over their kids, who's running to everything else but God. I'm going to set the standard of Christ.
Boom.
There's number 2.
Boom.
Boys rule.
I think you're up.
Dave's going to bring out one.
Okay,
His jeans are cool.
my, I guess the undeveloped title is How Does a Person Move from Brokenness to Wholeness? And I guess this is my very undeveloped thesis is the process of moving from brokenness to wholeness is developing a sense of gratitude. And out of that gratitude, we become generous. And when we become generous, we start becoming whole.
Cool.
Slowly walk
Good job.
away. You should have dropped it. Yeah, word. Whenever you actually use your
Who's up? You or Amy?
You can just drop it.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I have a hashtag in my 10 word below.
That reveals your age.
I know, I was like, what the hashtag is? I don't know. Okay, so the title of my message is going to be Your True Legacy. And 10 words or less is your history doesn't have to be your continued reality, hashtag new legacy. And where I'm going with this is you are not your family history, or you are not what your family history left you to be. You are worth more than that, and you can change the future for generations to come. And I want to take them on a journey of breaking past family lies and transforming it to a new truth that God is bigger than what they left you to be.
Hashtag boom.
I really don't know why I wrote a hashtag. I just thought, I was like, yeah.
That is awesome. Get ready.
It's there.
You know what you're going to talk about? Micah, get ready. Carrie, get ready. Here.
Hi, mine is the love of Jesus should flow everywhere you walk. And so it's really just the end result will be people being intentional about everywhere they walk, having the opportunity to love people right where they are.
Cool. You want to do yours?
She's actually going to sing hers.
This is just my notes from this week. I didn't know we were doing this, but my notes say, I don't believe we should ever settle for less than God's best. To tell Christian women to take the challenges that come as opportunities to never be satisfied with who they are, what they know, or how they live. So just to encourage women to, take challenges and move forward and die to yourself and live for Christ. So.
Cool. Woo! The whole room.
Scoring that round 6-4.
We'll have to,
Okay, once I started kind of listening to what everybody else did, I realized I'd written several things down that would work for the point. The point that I have is that what I like to tell people is, and the message I try to get across is that although we can't see it, God has a divine plan for us and we can trust Him. And it came from the change that I want to see or the action. I guess my less than 10 would be change from chaos to God's peace.
Boom. Good. Kathleen, Micah? You know what you want to talk about, though, right? Can you just go up there and say it in 10 words? Just try it. It's okay. We are a really mean crowd. Not.
Are they? I don't think. Okay, I don't
Just-
have mine in 10 words or less or an action step, but I know my speech is going to be on purity, and so I guess kind of an action step would be that I want a generation to rise up that values purity and that will seek God instead of the things of this world. So.
Boom. I don't have 10 words or less. Anybody else?
I'm going to go again, since they didn't do their homework.
Micah? You want to just try?
No.
You want to try in 20 words? Come on. Really? Okay. That's okay.
I could read Micah.
Okay.
I could do mine.
You have to walk, talk, and act like Micah.
Yep. Wait.
I have to walk, talk, and act like Micah?
Yeah.
Plus 10.
Not too bad.
Did you grab your beard?
You talking about-
She's
You got your beard?
Oh, you don't have a good beard.
You might later.
That's not going to work.
Well, it's not hard for me to do, man. So,
Talk about your beauty and art. Don't you like art, Micah?
no. So,
Do your voice.
you, oh, sorry. So, I had an encounter with God that everyone needs to experience. I can share it with you, and your life will never be the same. Good night.
I think we get 6 points for that one.
Taylor said plus 100. You know, let Taylor do the grading. They said 6 points. You said 100.
I like this. Your skill's a lot better.
Okay, that was entertaining. Okay, so sitting there watching all that, it's like whether you spoke or not, just God has a message in every single one of us. And there is an audience for you. I remember a long time ago when I was coming into a lot of revelation. I actually have talked to Micah about this recently. I was coming into a lot of revelation, and there were a couple of people, I'm like, oh, if they could just get this revelation, you know. And what you want to do is you want to bomb books at them. You want to start, like, go to Amazon.com, buy 100 of the same book, and start tossing them out everywhere, like, eat these like candy. And my husband said, very wisely, God did not put the author of that book in their life. He put you in it. You're the minister. The author isn't. No one else is. It's you. Here's what I learned from friends who did give away books. Inevitably, every time you give someone a book, they're going to read through it and find one thing that completely offends them. And they're going to toss out the whole book, and you lose the power of influence. But because God placed you in someone's life, you get to love them, you get to fail in front of them, you get to succeed in front of them, you become a real person. And sometimes you don't show the fruit that you should, and sometimes you do, but they love you and they begin to trust you and you begin to have the power of influence. And I found that it's slower, but it's deep. In every message that you have, God has already given you a sphere of influence to share that with. I mean, all of that was powerful. God gave me a vision a long time ago, almost 10 years ago. And tonight was the first time I've actually seen, like, oh my word, I think that might come to pass. You know, like I haven't seen any signs of it, so I'm just like, okay. I know it's from God, and I'll just hang out until we see something happen. But, okay, I don't want to kill us on time. I thought that was really awesome. What do you guys think? Okay, so here's what we're going to work on. I gave you guys an outline last week. Does anybody remember? What's the first? We'll call it a hook. It's your intro, right? What's the end? My conclusion, just like a paper in grade school. What's in the middle? Body. What's the body have? Transitions. Stories. Points. Right? And what? Support. Okay? I gave you this outline. So it's like an introduction, what are our points when we're teaching. But I really felt like I needed to introduce another outline to you guys. And I feel really strongly that this is a great outline for teaching the Word of God when you're a teacher. But I'm going to introduce another outline, and we're all going to start implementing it starting today. And it is, I use this forever, by the way. When I first learned how to speak, I pretty much use this method in everything I did. And it will work for you, and it will work every single time. Now, when you do Bible teaching, like I did with SOAR, we taught Bible study, you know, you need to have more of this expansion. It's really the same thing, but this is just going to be a simple outline, and it's going to give you 1 point. And everybody who came up and spoke, you really had 1 point, okay? So it is called the me, write this down, me, we, God, you, we. Yep. Me, we, God, you, we. Put that all together. It's really the same thing. The me is our intro. It's our hook. It's not really about me. It's really about presenting a problem or something that I've had in my life. It's my opportunity. We talked about how important it is to be transparent, because in transparency we show believability, right? Do you want to know, can I believe the person that's speaking? Right? So this is our opportunity to be transparent and show the people that we're speaking to that we're believable. So you're having coffee with someone. Ustream's over here. I wish I were left-handed. You're having coffee with someone, you can actually start right here. I mean, this will work in every conversation and from the stage. It'll work in a 10-minute talk, a 5-minute talk, a 20-minute talk, or whatever, okay? So your me is what you guys, it's your intro. It's your hook. It's a story about me, the speaker, okay? The we at the very end down here, because we've talked about these two sections, this is your conclusion. This is your action step. This is, all of you said, like, here's what I want them to do. And in this whole middle is the body, okay? In your notes this week, I go into a lot of detail about every one of these steps. I give you an example. I walk you through what this is. So I'm going to just set it up differently because I think this will be easier for you guys to implement by the end of the semester, and you're going to have a really powerful talk by the end. I want to record them, we'll put them online or whatever. Okay, so today, because we have 30 minutes left, we are all going to work on the intro. Okay? We're going to work on the intro. If you have your talk, if you don't know what your talk is going to be about yet, you need to go back to the last step. And I would just say next time you come, make sure you know what your talk is going to be about and have worked on your intro at home. I have a video I want you guys to see. And I've got it queued up, but you guys are going to have to squeeze in. Or you can listen. I can put the microphone up to the speaker so you can hear it.
Is somebody speaking?
Okay. Well, I can just do this. I think it's fine. This is Craig Rochelle. He's speaking on honor. And it is an introduction. He actually introduces for about, Craig's theory is that when you introduce a subject, you should spend about 1/3 of your time on the introduction. And the reason why is because if you haven't explained to your crowd why they need to hear your message, then they're never going to listen to it. Does that make sense? So your intro is critical. I think a lot of times when you're insecure, you get up and you kind of hem and haw and you talk around and you're like, you know, I did this today and that today. You don't have time like that in your intro to waste at all. You got to get after it. You got to just be like Johnny on the spot and here we go. Because it is critical time that people are deciding, do I want to listen to you or not? Okay? So our intro is critical. And I think this is one thing that Craig helped me with so much was, Sheri, I don't understand why I want to hear your message. Bring it. And if it has to go all the way up to 1/3 of your message, let it go up to 1/3 of your message. It doesn't have to. It can be really powerful really quickly. But the hook and the intro is critical. There's actually a testimony of a man who got distracted. Sometimes you have technical difficulties, like my microphone isn't working or whatever, and you get distracted and you think, oh my word, I had a 30-minute message, I had 30 minutes, and now I've got 20. And so it will make you rush through what you're going to say. And there's a guy that actually skipped his me. And he just started blazing through the rest of his thing. And he said something was just weird, like the audience wasn't with him the whole time. I've done this, okay? The audience wasn't with him the whole time. And he went back and he polled everyone, and basically people in the audience were bored and they had no idea what he was talking about. And it's because he didn't set it up well. So the me is the section. It's the opportunity for you to do two things. Present a problem or create some kind of tension that, give me somebody's topic. Somebody share their topic with me.
Biblical manhood?
Oh,
Is that what you mean?
yeah.
Is that too much trouble?
Biblical manhood. Oh. This should be fun. What was yours?
Legacy.
Oh, I'm going to go with legacy. I'm not really sure how to do that one. I can't think of a hook for biblical
Well, we
manhood.
talked about it in the parking lot the other day.
Oh, pornography and masturbation. How about that? Is that biblical manhood? Okay, well that's what we talked about in the parking lot, okay? We use those words. I heard there's code words, but I don't know them. I'm always like, do you struggle with pornography and masturbation? If so, let's chat. Okay. Let me tell you this. Andy Stanley said that there are certain things that they don't really need a hook. If people know that you're talking about pornography, they will show up. If they know you're talking about divorce, they will show up. If they know you're talking about sex, they're going to show up. But it's all the other subjects. Like legacy. Why do I need to know about a legacy? I mean, I've got a fine legacy. I don't really care. So what Amy would do in her intro is she needs to take the time to explain what is wrong by just taking what your parents gave you and re-implementing it in your new family. She can talk. She doesn't need to say you at all. In this first section, it's going to be her story. This outline is going to make it easier because it's going to be like this. This is all about me. It's not really about you, but you're introducing yourself. You want the audience to know who you are. So, for me, you guys know this, but I grew up in a family that had no God. Nobody went to church. We went to church on a funeral. I remember that. And we went to church on Easter once. And I started riding a church bus when I was 10 years old. I moved to Oklahoma and I rode a church bus to church every weekend. And today, my kids and I, we just sat down and talked about this. Every day I'd come home from church, I would be joy-filled and so excited. I was just like on fire. I'm so excited. And I would walk in the doors of my house and it was like a dungeon. My stepdad's in his underwear with his leg over his chair. The house is dark. There's navy blue curtains. It's just dingy. The colors were yellow. I hate yellow to this day. I just really hate the color yellow. You know, not that bad, but it's because I was sexually abused in a yellow room. I didn't know that. And so my house was like so depressing. And I would walk in and it would just immediately tear away all the good mood that I had. I didn't know how to keep it and I didn't know how to sustain it. And so what I could have easily done, and in my same household, we had 2 sisters raised in this. 2 sisters. We went 2 separate paths. I could have easily just emulated what I knew and what I learned from my parents, but I made a decision that I wanted a family that would be different and look different and act different than my old family. My sister didn't know how to do that. She didn't even know where to start, and she didn't even try. So her home is like my old home. And my home is like a home I've never known. I never saw it. I never knew it. I've just lived it out day by day, step by step. Now, I bet some of you, maybe you were abused in your home like I was. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were raised in a great home where everyone was chipper. But then maybe your mom had really down days and she was depressed or she took pills. Maybe your mom never hugged you, never said she was proud of you. Maybe your mom stole from you your self-esteem and you just wanted her to say like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You're a good mother. I mean, every woman wants to hear, you're a good mom. Men, don't you want to hear your dad say, I'm proud of you, son? You know, we do not have to repeat the legacy that we grew up in. We don't have to. There's a better way, and let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you God's way. Boom. So I just took you through me, we, and I just got you to God. Okay? So I talked about my story. I was transparent. I did almost cry because I really wanted my mom to say, like, you're a good mom. Like, see, my mom, she's gone. She can't ever say that. And that's sad for her.
You're a good mom, Sheri.
Thank you. Thank you. So I took you through the me, and I was transparent. Was I believable? Yes or no? And then I went to the we, and I switched it immediately. You didn't know that, but I said, maybe you. Okay? I didn't tackle that very well because I didn't have a lot of thought in it. So I just did what I did off the cuff. And so you're going to have a list of questions for you to think about. Like, how do I hit every person in the audience? My friend Amy Groeschel, she and I, our homes are polar opposite. She grew up in this great, sweet, awesome family, and I grew up in hell. You know, I'm like, how can I relate to her? So that's sometimes what's good about having 2 different speakers is one relates to the one that's over here, and I relate to the girl who was dysfunctional, right? So I took you through that, and then I took you to God, and so that's what God is going to be. God is, what does God say? So did I create tension? Did I give you a little bit of a tension or not? Tension? Raise your hand if you saw tension. Did I give you a problem? Did you feel like you needed it resolved? Did you feel it? Raise your hand. I need to see. Did you feel like you needed it resolved? If you felt like you needed it resolved for yourself, raise your hand. Or if you needed to know my resolution, raise your hand. If you want to know how it worked out. Okay, so the hands that were raised, those are going to be my listeners. And there's always going to be those people that they just aren't going to listen. They're going to be somewhere else. They're busy with their day. And it's really good to hit them. You can actually even say that. You're going to learn so much about your audience. You're going to be like, I know that there's some of those you're not going to be listening because there's actually a sore spot in your heart. And this is breaking it right now. And you don't want to access it. I mean, I can totally do that. So once you get really comfortable with your content, you can do that. I taught at a church. I got to actually preach one Sunday. And literally there was a man And he was sitting, like, turn around, Chris. Turn all the way sideways. He's not like that. He didn't look at me. He sat sideways in his chair and looked away for the first 15 minutes. It wasn't he. Okay. So there's going to be people like that, and what I do when I'm speaking is I look for the head nodders, and then I just go back to them. Because you can focus on the one who's not looking at you and get distracted and you forget what you're even talking about, okay? Don't do that. Okay, so we're going to work on the hook. So we're going to work on this section only, and then we're going to keep working, and we're going to build this whole thing out. So you have everything you need in your homework. You could come back next week with a full talk. I gave you every detail. I told you books to buy or check out at the library. One of them is so fabulous, I can't even see straight. And I thought it was interesting of how much counsel I've gotten verbally from people and how this book lined up. So I'm thinking, these two were talking. I think that they worked it out together. So this me part is for you guys. So you need to work on, let's say we're going to have a 20-minute talk. You decide if you want a 20-minute, 30-minute, or whatever. One piece of advice is that whatever your talk is, we always need to be flexible. So if I prepare a 30-minute talk and I go somewhere and we end up behind schedule and I need to adapt it to a 20-minute talk, I need to know how to do that. So decide in your head, like, I'm going to develop a talk that's 20 minutes. To me, 20 minutes is perfect. 22 is usually where I hit. And so if it's a 22-minute talk, calculate about a third of that time. So if it's a 30 minutes, it's going to be about 10 minutes. Your introduction will probably be about 8. And so you need a good story in here. If it's 20 minutes, it's going to be about 6-ish minutes here. But you need a really good story in here to talk about you, to present the problem so that your introduction, you cannot know your introduction until you know where you're going. We talked about that last week. So you have to know where you're going, and then you'll know how to introduce it. And you've got to keep this in mind, or you'll end up with a story that has no relation to this, okay? And that happens a lot, because you're like, I need a really good story, and you come up with a great story, it has nothing to do with anything. So don't do that. So we're going to work quietly with ourselves, by ourselves. Thank you, Tracy, for all the sign language. We're going to work by ourselves for a minute on the me. And if you don't have your message yet, work on your message. And if you have your message, work on your me. Does everyone understand this? Any questions? Let's work on it for 5 minutes and see where we get. Paper?
Do you have any college rules by chance?
I don't. Sorry. Oh, I put 4 right there. You have it. Thank you. Welcome. Paper? I'm sorry.
I'm a really good
You did. I stole it. Excuse me. This is just their notes. That's your homework. Uh-huh. I put it on there. Partner plagiarized. I was like, I think that would be easier. That's great. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? We need the rest of the time to work. One or the other. You want to share or work? Work.
I'll work already.
What'd you say?
I think we should share. I can work all the time around here.
Okay. Do you have your message down? Yeah? Okay, come on. Micah's going to share her message.
What? Wait, my phone?
No?
Oh, just the intro? Okay, so obviously this is just a rough draft because I just read it. Okay. Nobody, is it okay if I read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody likes you. If you killed yourself, no one would even notice. No one would miss you, and no one would care that you were gone. Those are the words that were spoken to me by someone who verbally abused me every summer of my life for 10 years. From the time I was 6 years old to the time I was 16 years old. And those are the words I chose to believe for the next 3.5 years after that. Because I believed the lies this person spewed and chose to put my identity in those lies, I shut myself off to everyone, including God. Because if that's how people felt about me, then it must be how God felt about me. At 16, the lies had so sunk into my core that I believed every negative thing that anyone spoke about me. And I let it marinate until I finally couldn't feel anything at all. I was numb. It wasn't the kind of numb that made you glad you couldn't feel anything. It was the kind of numb that made you lay awake, sobbing, hoping, praying, crying out to somebody, wishing that you could feel something. That's all I have.
Woo! Shut up. Yeah. Wow. That was powerful. Woo! Thank you. Who's next? Sean?
I don't have a title. I don't have anything else.
Anybody else?